The Oklahoma House has passed the Lori Brand Patient Bill of Rights Act, which mandates 30 rights a patient in Oklahoma would have, including the right to visitation by loved ones while hospitalized. Capitol correspondent Jason Doyle joins us from our OETA studios in the Capitol with more on the woman the legislation honors and her surviving family. Jason.
Rich, bills are named after people all the time. But what about the story that triggered the legislation? The Brand family is telling their story in hopes that things will change between hospitals and a patient's family in the name of Lori Brand.
Heather, were you there when we did this? Do you remember what that was?
Lori Brand was an Oklahoma City wife and mother of 3. Growing up, her daughters have memories filled with music.
She loved all kinds of music. Any song would come on the radio and she could tell you like what year it came out, the artist, the album that it was on. So we grew up listening to all kinds of music, but especially like classic rock.
Music, always music. You know, I remember she would be cleaning and they had a record player, you know, when I was young. And so I really remember listening to the Beatles, the White Album, and that's one of my favorites.
You know, having her 3 daughters were fabulous. You know, she worked so hard to make sure they, you know, had what they needed.
It was a full family life, but Lori was dealing with health issues.
So my mom actually had a rare autoimmune disease and then some other health issues that she'd been battling for at least 10 years, a little bit longer than that in 2020. So around 2009, 2010, she found out that she had a rare autoimmune disease called relapsing polychondritis. And then she also had a heart issue called mitral valve prolapse. And then she also had celiac disease.
I guess Christmas 2019, because the next year was 2020, was kind of the last time that I got to spend with her a significant amount of time. She was kind of already starting to not feel well.
In January 2020, those conditions were worsening, and Lori had to go into the hospital.
In January of 2020, things were normal. And she actually entered the hospital for quite a long stay before the pandemic really hit.
Lori Brand was still in the hospital in March of 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic started to shut things down and hospitals began filling with coronavirus patients. Alyssa was able to stay with her mother at the hospital.
I stayed with her for 9 days in her hospital room. I wasn't allowed to even go out to the hall or to the nurse's station. I had to stay specifically in her room. And at that point, they felt like she could be released.
Things seemed to be improving, and Lori was allowed to go home for a short time. But then, things took a turn.
We all 3 were there, and you know, we were trying to determine, do we need to call an ambulance for her? And so we decided that we did need to. And so I told her, hey Mom, we're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to go to the hospital, you're ill, you know, we can't take care of you at home. And she said, I'm so mad at you. She didn't want to go.
Towards the end of when she was going to pass, they did let us in, but it was still very frustrating, the communication while we were in the hospital of what had happened for the 2 or 3 days that we weren't there.
After Lori's death, the family tried to get answers as to why her condition went down so fast and if the lack of communication between the hospital and the family played a role.
When people go in the hospital, even though they list a patient's bill of rights on their website, when you go in the hospital, you have no rights whatsoever. They can do or say whatever they want, and there's no recourse for you. I have tried for 1.5 years to get answers and couldn't get any answers.
Despite that, Gerald Brand kept trying.
I kept pushing, just wanting some answers, and they finally cut off all communication. No phone calls, no emails, no nothing.
So Gerald emailed his state representative, House Majority Leader John Echols, for help.
I had no idea how politics worked, how difficult things are, but He's been a tremendous help. We told our story to him.
The Brand family wants to make sure that families have the right to see their loved one in the hospital, as well as information vital to the care of the patient, which are major parts of House Bill 1013. Other proposed tenets of the bill include the right to an advance directive attorney, the protection of patient privacy, and the review of past medical records of the patient.
As far as whether or not patients are entitled to information of what affects patient care, you can ask that question any way you want, any form you want. You will see me on the side of patients having the right to understand things that affect patient care.
The Oklahoma Hospital Association has weighed in on House Bill 1013, saying hospitals take very seriously communication with the family members and loved ones of the patients we serve. Federal law dictates hospital policies regarding patient rights and privacy.
I feel very honored that my mom's name is on the bill. I don't think she would have ever expected that, you know. I don't think that she would have ever believed that, you know, we went through this whole process. But she deserves it. She deserves to have her name on it.
You know, nurses and doctors, they're doing the best that they can. And honestly, when we were there with Mom that last day, they were very compassionate and kind, I thought. But there's a system that needs to change. There needs to be better things in place when things like this happen.
I can't change the past, but I can try to change the future for other people.
House Bill 1013, the Lori Brand Act, was approved unanimously by a vote of 94-0 in the House, a clearly bipartisan vote. The Brand family is hopeful their hard work will pay off in the Senate, and the bill will be sent to Governor Stitt.